Hello, and welcome to Master Your Mindset podcast. My name is Liz Jacoy, and I engage with mostly professionals that I work with, either they're entrepreneurs or in business, to help them and educate them on what the neurology, the cognitive, the behavioral psychology, and therapists have used as well in order to make the changes that you want to change, that you'll have better performance, live a better life, and of course, have better health. Without all those three, you probably may be experiencing some anxiety in your life. So, what I do is I really want to help you overcome this. So, today's topic is, why is personal development flawed? Well, I think it's flawed for one reason and one reason only, is that they keep telling you there's things that you need to fix, or there's flaws in your traits or your characteristics, and it's kind of focused on that negative aspect and then telling you this is what you need to do. Well, I'm coming from the angle, after being deeply involved in self-development myself. Sorry, I got a message here. No, I'm streaming live now. Thank you. You can leave comments for me if you like. Deeply involved, because I always had this inner battle. Do you get where you're like, oh my God, I think there's something wrong with me. I think I'm codependent. So I went to the bookstore, got a book on codependent. I've got to fix this. So I worked on that. Oh my God, I worry all the time. So I go to the bookstore. Oh my God, I have fear all the time. How many bought that Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways? I think it was by Suzanne Jeffers, I think it was. Yeah, so it was all constantly, voraciously reading and reading and reading. And although I gained a lot of knowledge over the decades and a lot of information, it didn't really have practical application that I could use. It was like good to know, but now I've got to take action, and that's where I gain more personal power. So things like I would constantly, and of course, when I started my business 7 years ago, I've always heavily been involved in personal development. And in fact, I used to teach leadership skills, customer service, sales, and time management. But what I found was people would always fall off and go back to their old habits. And so 7 years ago, when I was going through my own journey, actually 10 years ago now, I discovered mindset, and that it was really why we oscillate in our health. You do that yo-yo dieting. That's where it started for me with my health and losing weight and getting in shape. It was on and off, start and stop, start and stop. And I realized that it had to do with my mindset. And so when I focused on the mindset of what I want to do and why, that inner battle stopped. So I would no longer, eat that cake. Mind you, I did fall off again, and now I'm back on track again. But it's not as bad as it was when I was 80 pounds overweight. I had lost 80 pounds. And when I started my business, I constantly compared myself to others who were much more successful. And so that led to even more inner conflict because I would look at the traits they had and that I wasn't measuring up. So I was comparing myself. I'm not measuring up. So there's something wrong with me. I'm flawed. I had to fix how I was showing up. Everybody talks about authenticity, but was I showing up authentically? Oh my God, I have to fix that. I'm not showing up authentically. And so when I learned that that's what I was doing, is constantly looking at the flaws, instead of looking at how far I have come from decades ago, how different I was from years ago, and just focusing on the feelings and focusing on what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, that's what really made me happy. And always had to feel like I had to feel normal. It was like I was this, and I remember somebody telling me, is like, you should, your family should be your project, and, work on fixing it. It's like, we're always constantly talking about fixing things when things are broken. One of the things I noticed, and this is the most fundamental thing I want you to get out of today, is The biggest thing I noticed that kept me in that perpetual cycle of there's something wrong with me, there's flaws, and I need to fix things, and I'm broken, is the judgment, especially the self-judgment, that inner critic. You know, it could be as bad as, you know, you're so stupid, you're such an idiot, why did you do that? How could you do that? You should know better, you could do better, you could be better. You're not showing up as your authentic self. I thought you worked on that, right? That's that self-criticism. And then self-criticism of others. It's kind of like, she's not, you know, showing up. She's negative. She's a controller, or she's always cutting me off. She's always interrupting what I have to say. She's always telling me what to do. She's always, and then of situations, and I think the biggest judgment we had of situations was COVID, right? We all had judgments about doctors and things and this and that and gloves. Not to, I remember wearing gloves into Costco. It was the very first, you know, time like you actually go to Costco, and I was wearing gloves and a mask, and a lady came over to me and told me that wearing gloves was useless because I touch things anyways and just keep touching things. And I'm like, but am I not protecting myself? I'm going to take the gloves off, right? As soon as I clean everything. I don't know. Anyways, I just found people were judging of others, judging myself, judging the situation. And when a coach and mentor introduced me to the Enneagram, I realized that all these tools that I'd used in the past, like Myers-Briggs, personality dimensions, DISC, all these other tools, were just telling us what we are, but not really how to. And with the Enneagram, it's more of a how to, and how to embrace the 9 traits, right? The 9 traits. So how to embrace all these 9 traits that we do have. I added the 10th, and the 10th is the judge. So instead of judging myself, I would say, okay, so I just said I was an idiot. So let me think. Instead of judging myself as an idiot, let's use discernment, right? It's having that power of moving from judge to discernment. So I would say, okay, what is it about this that made me think I was an idiot? Oh, because I put on the mask when I was talking to that person instead of just being authentic, looking for something to laugh about, cracking a joke, which would be my authentic self, right? So when I started to realize that, that was kind of like the coach was the turning point for me. That being critical of myself and others and situations wasn't helpful. Instead, moving to more discernment where I could say, okay, so I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. Instead of saying, oh my God, always anxious, can't you get over this? It's like, okay, well, what is it that's causing me? Like being more of an observer. What is it? What am I thinking? I've got a lot to do. Is it true that I've got a lot to do? Well, maybe, what if I just do this and focus on that and get that done? Then see where the momentum takes me. So instead of resisting my perfectionism, I could use discernment and say, okay, when I'm building out my slides, when I'm creating a blog, when I'm sending an email or a post, I have to make sure, no, I wouldn't say have to, right? See, I'm always learning myself. Language is so important. It's important for me to make sure that the spelling and grammar is as accurate as it can be, especially when you're doing a presentation, right? But where is it that I can be imperfect? When I'm making a slice, you know, what is it in my life that I am imperfect? Maybe putting on my makeup. It could be the meal that I just made. It could be not showing up as perfectly as I want to show up, and not being critical of myself, right? So I'm just going to look at making sure I don't. So instead of trying to change perfectionism or controlling or people pleasing, I take a look at those parts and embrace it and say, yes, if I can be a people pleaser, but what is that boundary of being a people pleaser? And to what extent? Because if it moves into where I get resentful, angry, and regret, then that's a problem. So accept the fact that I love to please people, but to what extent? So long as it doesn't, pardon my French here, piss them off or annoy them, then I'm okay, right? So I started to accept being a perfectionist, being an achiever, being a people pleaser, being the type of person that looks for risks and makes sure safety everywhere, being enthusiastic and full of ideas, being that type of person that's always seeking information and knowledge, be the type of person that likes to be spontaneous sometimes, and be that person who likes when things are sometimes organized and neat. And just because I like it to be, it allowed me to look at those things in a more positive way. And also, how can I now influence people that this isn't a bad trait, but this is something that makes me feel happy? For example, if I like it when my kitchen is neat and organized and clean so that we'll go prepare the next meal or sit down for a meal, it feels good. Right? It makes me feel happy, it makes me feel joy, it makes me feel comfortable, as opposed to having dishes overflowing in the sink, right? So when I kind of explain that to my kids, now they understand and they're helpful to me. Now, if they come to me and say, "Well, that's your problem," and blah 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 blah, well, then that's something that we need to work on, right? So self-development isn't about fixing yourself, but understanding it, that all these parts that you have are important, and that having even those strong tendencies towards perfectionism or people pleasing isn't inherently bad, and that it's something that it can be a valuable tool when used in a way that is going to help you provide service to someone. So, in what way, if I'm a controller, for example, yeah, because I get clients tell me that they're very controlling. So, if they come to me and say, I'm very controlling, I always say, well, what is it? What part of you do you see? What part of being a control freak do you see as a strength? Now, they may come up with, well, I like to organize things. So great. And so what is it about? And then we dive more further into what is it about organizing things? Why is that important to you? And if that's communicated to other people, and why, and ask them questions about what do they see the difference between being disorganized and organized, you'll get buy-in. You'll get them, and then you won't feel like frustrated because they're not organized as well, not keeping things organized for you, and how much easier it is because then they don't have to. Like if you have a shoe rack and you want them to put it on the shoe in the front hall instead of coming in the door and tripping over shoes. Once people understand why you like that kind of organization system, the more likely influence them and say, and ask them questions. What do you feel, and how do you feel about, when the shoe rack is organized versus coming in and tripping over shoes? Oh, yeah, I see your point, right? So sometimes just having a conversation about that. And that way you can integrate them into your whole self instead of trying to get rid of the controller part. And it's really about having self-acceptance, right? Accepting yourself for who you are. So first of all, take a look at what it is that you're constantly trying to fix or think that you're broken. The second one is realizing that some of these, what are those things that you're trying to fix or flaw, may actually be a strength. And then how can you integrate that into your whole being? And the last thing is self-acceptance or self-love. Now, if you like my ebook, let me know in the comments below and I'll send you the ebook, because I talk about some of these concepts in there. But it's really, it's just embracing all these parts that you think you have to fix. It was interesting. I was on a podcast yesterday and she said, yeah, her partner says that she overthinks. And I said, well, what is it that you overthink? What is it, can you put boundaries on it? Can you put limits on it? If it's ruminating where you're constantly beating yourself up or constantly going over a situation and you're trying to make it better, well, then that's different, right? Because that's ruminating. And ruminating is really about trying to fix a past event that you think didn't go well, and you can't fix the past. All you can do is learn from it. Say, oh, okay, that happened. So next time when that happens, I'm going to do this instead. So that's where the self-acceptance, say, oh, okay, so that happened. Give myself some grace, accept that that happened. I can't go back and change it now, but I can do something different in the future. So integrating them into your whole part. So one of them is really important that I learned is getting vulnerable. Really, and this is hard because we're taught maybe at an early age to push our emotions down. Don't be such a crybaby. I'll give you something to cry about. What are some other things parents might say to us? Oh, don't be so dramatic, or don't be so emotional, right? So we learn that that's not a good thing to be, so we push it down. That's when we burn out. That's what burnout for me was. And of course, the more I burned out and didn't deal with the burnout, that led to a breakdown, right? It's just like PTSD would kick in. Everything was like an emotional reaction to everything. And of course, it's not. We're often taught that selfishness, like looking after ourselves, is not a good thing, when we know the reverse is true. Because if we don't look after ourselves, that's where we're constantly reacting to people, places, and things and situations, right? So it's very important. And of course, judgment often, that's why I said, okay, when you recognize judgment gets a bad rap. So when you're judging yourself, say, okay, this is what I'm judging. Now use your discernment and say, okay, so I did that, but what is really true here? What's really important here? Is it something that maybe if I'm judging someone, is it maybe something that I want to emulate? Are they being a role model for me on how to be successful, on how to create whatever it is that they're creating? Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast today. And yeah, please reach out to me. You can email me at liz@lizjacoy.com. I offer free 30-minute just to get to know each other. Maybe you can network with me to see how we can help each other in each other's businesses or in life. And subscribe, go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. That way you'll get notifications every time I go live. And so just remember, just be yourself. Just give yourself lots of love and grace and acceptance, and learn. Learn from your past mistakes and learn. Learning is the key here, not beating ourselves up about the traits that we have or don't have or want to possess, or think that we're broken. You're not broken. You just have developed. You're not broken. This is the final thing I want to say. You're not broken. What's happening is your unconscious mind is just keeping you safe by not wanting you to do the very thing you want to do in order to excel in business. So just keep that in mind, and hopefully that will help you move forward. Hope you liked today's segment. Please go to my YouTube channel. It would really help to subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's lots more information on there for you, and you can get past episodes of Master Your Mindset as well. Thanks for tuning in.